Hi everyone, this is Coasters and Places. Welcome if you've never watched one of my videos, and if you have, well, welcome back. So glad you're here with me. And today I'm going to do another plus size video guide for riders. If you are a plus size person and you're looking to visit Silver Dollar City, this is the video for you. I'm going to go through every single ride that Silver Dollar City has to offer and how you as a plus size person are going to or may fit on each individual ride. We'll start with the coasters, go to thrill rides, family, and then kids rides. So Silver Dollar City, in my opinion, is not the most plus size friendly park out there, but it's still an absolutely wonderful park. One of the best in the country. And even as a plus size person, I promise you that there's still going to be something here that you can ride. So don't be like, I'm just going to be stuck walking around or looking around the whole day. Even as a plus size guest, there's going to be something here you can ride. So for reference, the last time I was at Silver Dollar City, I weighed around 295 pounds. I am 5'6". I carry majority of my weight in my stomach and my hips, some in my thighs, my actual butt and chest area don't really carry a lot of weight, so those areas for me typically tend to not be problem areas. But with that being said, I can still tell you, hey, this restraint may be a problem if you're big in these areas. So I want to say my waist measurement had definitely been in the 50s. Same with hip measurement. Chest would have been in the 40s. So just to give like a point of reference of my personal size. But yeah, and before we get started, this is something I say in all the plus size guide rider videos that I have, and I have plenty more, and I have a playlist, so please check that out. I may have already covered the theme park that you may be wondering about, if there's another one you're wondering about. And if I haven't, let me know in the comments down below if there's one you would like to see covered. If I've been there, I can definitely make a video on it, or honestly, if they have a lot of rides that are basically found at other parks, I may be able to still make a video of it if I know the ride types and restraints. But the big tip I tell everybody is if there is a test seat, use it. Don't be scared to sit in that test seat, because the last thing you're going to want to do is wait in line to find out that you can't ride. That's all, a terrible feeling. You could have been doing something else. So even if sometimes kids will be sitting in the test seat, or if you do feel a little awkward with an attendant being there at the test seat, well, that's their job. And chances are you're never going to see these people ever again. But regardless, don't let people look at you if you are trying to try out the test seat bother you. Definitely just try it out, and get a feel for how you're going to fit, before you wait in line and then not be able to ride. That is my absolute biggest tip for anybody, is if there's a test seat, use it. But let's go ahead and get into the video. We're going to start out with the roller coasters. So first coaster is Time Traveler. This does have a test seat. So the seat, it has basically a lap bar, but it's one of them you pull down over you, but it is a lap bar restraint. It has to come and click into a certain position. This ride, I unfortunately could not ride at the weight I was at last time I visited. If you do have bigger hips as well, you may find this uncomfortable, because the seats to me are kind of narrow and have the bucket shaped seats. So if you can't scoot all the way back in that seat, it's really going to affect the restraint being able to close. I don't really think I was honestly that close, but I wasn't like that far away from fitting either, if that makes sense. So check the test seat for this one out. If you have been to like Carowinds and rode Copperhead Strike, the restraint is basically the same. So if you're able to ride that, you can ride this, vice versa. If you have the biggest problem areas, honestly, if you have a big stomach, this is going to be a troublesome ride to try to fit on. But yeah, definitely use the test seat though. This is Outlaw Run, and it does have a test seat too. This was definitely a no-go for me, and I'm not really close to getting it either, unfortunately. So the restraint system for this is a big bulky lap bar, and also like it has like shin guards on it. So if you are tall or really long-legged, you could actually have some issues as well. Not even have to really be bigger in body stature, just tall, long-legged because of those shin guards, and it can be uncomfortable. So biggest problems, honestly, it's really just going to be your stomach. It's got to come down, that lap bar, it comes down pretty far. So if you do have a bigger stomach, you could have issues. I would say around the 250 range, 240, you'd probably be okay depending on your height and just how you're built. But for me personally, this was not close. Definitely wasn't going to be able to ride it, unfortunately. Next up, this is Powder Keg. So the restraint is a lap bar style, and it hooks on one side with the seatbelt, and then it ratchets closed basically, and it has to click. So the problem with this is stomach, possibly big thighs. So this one for me, it was weird because I was able to ride earlier in the day, barely. I mean, they had to push, the attendant did. And it was uncomfortable, but I was able to ride. Later in the day, not able to ride it. So, it's, again, just the walking around, I guess eating food and maybe a little water weight really definitely affected me being able to ride. And also, if that attendant wouldn't have pushed, I probably couldn't have rode the first time. If you have a bigger chest area, you'll have no issues with this. But for me personally, it was so tight that first time. But it was a fun ride. So, yeah, it's definitely right on the edge for me personally, being biggest in my stomach. But my stomach's pretty squishy, so that probably also helped me ride. Yeah, that is Powder Keg. Next up is Wildfire, and I believe Wildfire has a test seat, but don't quote me on that. But if they don't have a test seat for Wildfire, if you have rode an over-the-shoulder restraint, B&M roller coaster, with not the vest restraint, but the harder restraint type, it is exactly the same. This is what this is. And they are common at so many other parks. I mean, Busch Gardens Tampa has it. There's Carowinds, Cedar Point will have them. So they're common restraint type. So if you have been able to ride it, then it's going to be the same here. There are certain seats that are actually designed for plus-sized guests. They will have 2 seat belts instead of 1. And those can mean the difference between fitting or not. I was able to fit, but I did have to ride in the seat and ask for the seat with the double seat belts. And the attendant still had to push, but I was able to ride. And another thing I do with these types of seats is because I can't sit all the way down because of how wide my hips are. So I'll actually kind of tilt the back of my pelvis up so where I'm not sitting, and it kind of adjusts, I guess, the angle of my stomach to where it's easier to push and get it latched, if that makes sense. So problem areas, if you do have bigger hips, that could prevent you from getting all the way back in the seat. Bigger chest area is going to cause a lot of issues, and also a big stomach because of the style restraint it is. Honestly, I'd say if I was 10 pounds heavier, I probably wouldn't fit. But luckily, I was able to ride Wildfire. Fire in the Hole, which was recently redone, it just has a lap bar that pulls down to a certain position where it locks. So it just has to pull down at least that far, but can pull down further to your level of comfort.
I found it to be pretty accommodating, although people have noted it is not as accommodating as the original version of Fire in the Hole. But it does have a test seat, so check it out. And if you have a big stomach, that could be your biggest issue, really, for fitting in it. Thunderation does not have a test seat, but it is very accommodating for pretty much anybody. So it just has a ratcheting lap bar, but it'll pull down to your level of comfort. And that is pretty accommodating, so it doesn't have to pull down super far. If you have an exceptionally large stomach, you might have issues with this. But most people won't have a problem with thunderation, so it's definitely more of a plus size friendly coaster. This is the Grand Exposition coaster, which is the very last coaster that Silver Dollar City has. After this, we'll move on to talking about some thrill rides. So this is designed as more of a family / kids coaster. I'd say it's more like a kids coaster, honestly. These style of coasters are pretty common. So if you've rode one of them, be the same type of deal. So the lap bar just comes down as far as it can. Riding side by side with another plus size adult would not be very comfortable or roomy. Honestly, even as a plus size or adult period, these coasters are tight. Can you do it? Probably. It's going to be comfortable, maybe not. But if you want to ride with your child, the small child you should be okay with. Maybe a bigger child, it might be squishy. But in general, these style coasters are just more meant for kids, honestly. But as a plus size person, unless you're super large, you should still be able to ride it though. This is electro spin, so you will like sit on this facing towards the outside and like straddling the seat, and the restraint will come up behind you. So this is actually surprisingly accommodating, but my advice is to scoot all the way forward as you can, and then like hug the front of it to help push yourself forward, and then the attendant will come behind you and actually get your restraints secured there. With that, I feel like as a plus size person, you should be able to ride, unless maybe you have an exceptionally large stomach, but I've definitely seen people in the 300s be fine and be able to ride electro spin. This is a drop tower. It's called Firefall. And I mean, these types of drop towers are pretty common, and it has an over-the-shoulder restraint that has to come down. So for me personally, this is a no-go. I usually have problems with drop towers just because of how far the restraints have to come down to be able to lock, and my big stomach gets in the way. If you also have a big chest area, that can also cause you some issues with this ride. And also, the seats are very narrow. So if you have big hips, you might not be able to get all the way in the seat, which can prevent you from riding as well. Because if you can't go all the way back, then that restraint cannot properly lock. So just be mindful of that. This one's definitely a tight squeeze. I'd say you have to be probably under 250 to be able to ride this, and depends where you carry your weight as well. This is called the Giant Barn Swing, and this is called an S&S Screamin' Swing. So this model is at some other parks as well. Cedar Point and Busch Gardens Tampa are a couple, so if you've rode it there, it's the same restraint style. It does have a test seat. Definitely check that test seat out first before riding. So it's a lap bar and then a seat belt that clicks like on the side of the lap bar, which it's part of the lap bar, but like it clicks on the side to attach. So that has to be able to click for you to be able to ride. If it does not, you won't be able to ride. I personally could ride this, but it was very close to not being able to fit, and I definitely have to have the help of the ride attendant. If you do have like bigger hips, that could be a problem to prevent you from sliding all the way back in the seat. It's a hard plastic seat. Also, big stomach, big thighs could be an issue as well with this one. But again, it was super tight on me. So if you do, again, I think it was my stomach. But luckily I was able to ride, but definitely check out that test seat. American Plunge is a classic log style ride. You just sit in it in the seat, so it's very accommodating for anyone. Anyone should be able to ride it. This is Mystic River Falls. So this is a raft style ride, so you will just have a seatbelt as the restraint. This seatbelt is very long, so honestly it should be able to accommodate most anybody. If you do have an exceptionally large stomach, or hips, maybe you wouldn't be able to ride it, but honestly I feel like most everybody should be just fine with this ride.
This is called the High-Low Silos. And this is like a type of ride where you have to like pull yourself up. And the restraint system by itself is very snug, but more so than that is the weight limit of 198 pounds per seat, or 396 per chair group, like the set of two together. So this is definitely not very plus size friendly at all, in combination with the weight limits and also the very tight restraint system. This is called Fireman's Flyer. It is a swing type ride, and so it'll have where the bar will come down and then a seatbelt in between your legs to buckle to. So the seats themselves on this particular swing ride are very, very smushy. They're not very roomy. Like some of the swing rides, the seats are more accommodating. This one, it's definitely smaller than a lot. If you are a plus size person, you may definitely have some difficulty. I mean, that could depend too, like how squishy you are. For me personally, this was a no-go. But if you weigh less than me, you probably could ride it. You can just kind of look at the seats and use your own judgment on that. But to me, I think the seats are honestly really small. Next up, this is called the Magnificent Wave Carousel. This is a swing ride. This one you will actually like share a seat with somebody. I mean, there's separation in between the two seats, but it's like two seats. So you'll ride with somebody. So a bar will come down and then a chain will come in between your legs. This is more roomier than the other swing ride. This one I did fit in. It was a little uncomfortable, a little smushy, but I was able to ride. So if you're able to like kind of smush yourself in, then you should be good to ride. Just note that the swing seats still are not super large, so it may be somewhat uncomfortable, especially if you have a big stomach. But as a bigger person, let's say for 300 pounds or less, you should be okay to ride this. This is called Up the Ladder, and while technically adults can ride this, it's very tight. Like it has a lap bar that'll come down across everyone riding, and it's very smushy. Unless you're a very small adult or honestly a kid, this is not going to be a very comfortable ride. And also the seats themselves, if you have any sort of big thighs or hips, it's going to be very hard to sit in the seats. This is one that is not plus size friendly, and personally I would just let the kids ride this one. This is Fire Wagon Frenzy. It does have a shared lap bar that'll come across the whole row to the biggest person. It is very accommodating, even if you do have a bigger stomach. The only thing is like the little door to step in the vehicle, that can be a little tight and smushy to get in, but once you're in, you should be good to ride. The Mighty Galleon, pardon me if I am mispronouncing that, is a pirate ship swinging boat ride. These are very common at other various theme parks. They just have a lap bar shared that comes down. I was able to ride this, and as a plus size person, you should be able to as well. If you do have a big stomach, you might have to like kind of pick your stomach up and onto that lap bar, or be able to like be smushed basically, like if your stomach's smushy, and then you can ride. If you do have an exceptionally large stomach, that lap bar may not be able to come down and fasten, but for the most part, most people should be able to ride. Racing Regatta here, it just has a lap bar that'll come down,
it is very accommodating. It just comes down to the largest person. So honestly, pretty much anybody should be able to ride Racing Regatta. This is Fire Spotter. It's like one of those balloon rides. It does have a shared seat belt on each side. So the seat belt's decent, but it's not like super long. If you're riding with a small kid, you could easily sit side by side with them. But another plus size person or a bigger kid, or if you're exceptionally big, you might not be able to ride with somebody and share that seat belt. And then the door actually getting into the ride's a little tight. But other than that, this should be good for you to be able to ride. So these 4 rides are pretty much very similar with the same restraint type, as that it has the seat belt. You have Elephant March, Lucky's Dizzy Dogs, Happy Frogs, and the Wings of Wonder. So Elephant March out of these is probably the most roomiest, and then probably Dizzy Dogs, and with Happy Frogs, and then Wings of Wonder being the tightest. So personally, if you're going to ride this to fit, I would definitely ride by yourself in this seat. Elephant March would probably be okay if you're riding just with a small child. The others, the seats are more narrow, even if with a small child, you may be pretty smushed or not able to fit. And then the Wings of Wonder, I feel like, has the shortest seat belt, so bigger plus size adults may not be able to ride that one. But yeah, so they're all just going to have a seat belt. The Elephant March one has a pretty decent seat belt, and the dog one as well. Lucky Frogs is kind of shorter, with the Wings of Wonder being the shortest. So just to let you know, as a plus size person, definitely Wings of Wonder at least ride by yourself, and it may not accommodate bigger plus size people. The following rides and attractions should be accessible to anybody, no matter what your size is. They're all very accommodating. They are Royal Tea Party, the Firehouse Play Place and Firehouse Splash Yard, Hugo and Mary's Carousel, the Flooded Mine, the Frisco Silver Dollar Line Steam Train, Grandfather's Mansion, Marvel Cave, the Swinging Bridge, and Tom and Huck's River Blast. So the last 2 attractions at Silver Dollar City is going to be the Treetop Trail and the Ladybugs ride. So neither of these are accessible for plus size guests, simply because you have to be either 56 inches or 55 inches or less to enjoy them. However, with Treetop Trail, you can go on it if you are accompanying a child that's under 36 inches tall. Otherwise, the Ladybugs and Treetop Trail, as a plus size person or as an adult in general, you wouldn't be able to enjoy these attractions. That concludes my video to Plus Size Riders Guide to the rides and attractions of Silver Dollar City, how you as a plus size guest may fit on the rides. So I should have done all of the rides, and if you do have any questions, leave them down in the comments below. And if you found this video helpful in any way, please like and go ahead and subscribe to my channel as well. It helps me grow and helps me to continue making great content like this. And if you know somebody else that might find this video helpful, send it to them. Because as a plus size person, we should be able to go and enjoy the theme parks just like everybody else. But it is nice to kind of have an expectation and know what to expect as far as what we can do. But as Silver Dollar City and with any other theme park, there's definitely always going to be something that we can ride. And plus, Silver Dollar City in particular is just a gorgeous park. There's lots like shopping, dining, shows, and things like the Marvel Cave to enjoy that aren't based on our size to enjoy them. So go and have a great time. And again, thank you so much for watching.